Hi everyone, I am Jason and welcome back to Micro Investor, where we talk about cryptocurrencies daily and do technical analysis. Now, today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, and we're going to be going with a theory that is a possibility as we're now ending this third quarter of 2022. What's the possibility that maybe Bitcoin might be seeing a potential rally? And that's something to think about because, well, every single October or a good number of Octobers, we start to see the price of Bitcoin turning around. And actually, what I want to talk about today is really just going through some past history and looking at some previous dates with Bitcoin, looking at Bitcoin back in like 2017, 2020, 2021, and getting a good idea about the price movements then. Maybe we'll get more of an understanding about this bear market that we're currently in and the possibility of it ending soon. Now, obviously, everything is just my own personal opinion, so don't take anything I'm saying as any sort of financial advice. So let's just go ahead and kickstart this and look at the information that we have. So as we get to it, if you don't mind, real quick, do me a huge favor and please be sure to smash, destroy, annihilate, or gently press that like button to help me out with the algorithm, help spread the content to more people that might find it interesting, and subscribe and push that bell notification if you have not already. Now, at the moment, according to CoinMarketCap, the entire crypto market cap is around $940 billion. About 39.5% of that is of Bitcoin dominance, and 17.3% of that is Ethereum. Now, still not a whole lot of price movements with Bitcoin over these last 24 hours, but over the last 7 days, Bitcoin is up more than 2.5%. So looking at Bitcoin real quick on the daily chart, a lot of questions as far as what's currently going on. What is all of this right here? Is this part of a wave series, part of a downward momentum that we're seeing, a possible 5 waves? Maybe this is a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3. We're working on a wave 4, and then we have a wave 5 to the downside, and that could really actually complete this WXY correction, that Y wave being lower, of course, than our W wave. There's that possibility. That's one theory, but I don't like to be bearish like that. I'm very optimistic and bullish and think that maybe we're part of something much different. Maybe what's currently going on is, as we've had 5 waves down to the downside, that this currently is its own new set of waves. And maybe what we got going on is we have a wave 1, a wave 2, and now we're working on that wave 3, and that could be what could be sending us into that price at around $30,000. Go back and start retracing all this stuff is what I would like to see. But I mean, regardless, we're really close to just by default being on the other side of this bull market support band. So that's definitely something to be paying attention to. And the fact is that we have Bitcoin just holding so strong within these current levels. A lot of things that are really up in the air. But if we are going to go with that idea that maybe the month of October is going to be a very bullish month and there is upside to come, then yeah, we will possibly real easily be on the other side of this bull market support band, because, well, that's going to end up happening within a couple weeks anyways if we just continue to trade sideways as we are. And if we do have any sort of price movement, say within this next week, the bull market support band is going to be hanging out around at like $22,000, somewhere around there, and that's where we're going to be working on trying to break through that. So not a lot of price movements really need to happen to see some sort of bullish indicators with Bitcoin right now. Now let's look at the moving averages real quick. How are things lining up right now? So with all of this sideways trading right now, what we're seeing is that Bitcoin is also really attempting to break through this 50-day moving average. And what we have is that within this next week, we're going to have the bull market support band really lining up with that, with the 100-day moving average. So not a lot of price movements, in my opinion. I mean, it's been a while since we've been on the other side of this bull market support band, or even above the 200-day moving average. Last time we saw that was when we had that little false rally in the month of March into April, and then we saw things really take a turn for the worse into this year. So that was the last time we saw that, and that was the only time that we had that happen in this year. After that, I mean, after we hit that all-time high back in November, things went very bearish with Bitcoin, and we continue to stay for the most part under the bull market support band. But a lot of those big price rallies that we had in 2021, that kept us above it. I mean, after we saw that correction that was very similar like this one that we're having now, we were under it, then we went back above it. And I'm thinking that things might be playing out very similar to that. So at the moment, the bull market support band is the bear market resistance band. So something that I found interesting just looking back on Bitcoin. So this is July 2020, and you can see the Bitcoin started to go up, and then it had a little bit of a peak in the month of August, around mid-August, and then the price started to taper off in September 2020. And then as Bitcoin got in the month of October, we saw Bitcoin go on a pretty big rally and going up in the months of not just October, but November and December, and then coming down in January of 2021. So then looking through 2021 and looking for a very similar rally with that as well, and how things ended up playing out in 2021 was we started seeing some price movements in July of 2021 and then into August, and then things came down a bit in September. And then as Bitcoin really got in the month of October, what did it see? It saw this. It saw the price just go up in the month of October and November, and that was where Bitcoin reached its all-time high in 2021. So a very similar thing has happened with Bitcoin this year so far. Some similarities, as we see that in 2021, we saw Bitcoin's price drop off in the month of May. Just like as we're seeing this year, we saw Bitcoin's price really drop off in the month of May and June. And then we saw a little bit of price movements in the months of July, and then a little bit of a peak in August, about mid-August, and things come down a bit in the month of September. And then we start to see some things as we end the month of September. Very similar situation going on right now as we've seen in the past, for the past 2 years at least. But maybe if we go a little bit further back, if we look maybe at this point, and this was when Bitcoin had a big rally back in 2017. What did we see at this time? So we saw Bitcoin moving in July, August, and then around mid-August, it came down in the month of September. The month of October, Bitcoin went up in November, went up in December, and then comes down in January. Very similar to everything that we're seeing right now. And if you look at this rally that Bitcoin had back in 2017, Bitcoin went from a price where it was under $1,000 that year. I mean, it just went up a lot, all the way up to around where it's currently at right now. It had peaked above $19,000, and then it came down quite significantly, more than 3 times its value. Very similar situation as we're seeing at this moment. So we're seeing a lot of history repeating itself right now, actually, as I am looking at Bitcoin. There is a repeated process here that is definitely worth paying attention to within the months of July, August, September, and October, as things do start to get a little bit more bearish, and then all of a sudden it turns bullish, and then it goes bearish again. So I'm wondering if we're going to see that same history repeat itself this year, as we're now going into the month of October. We're starting off that fourth quarter, and is this going to have a very similar play as it did before, or are we going to see the price of Bitcoin come down more? That's a big question, and something interesting and definitely worth paying attention to. Now, there's this really good possibility that Bitcoin right now is within this corrective wave, and as we had seen it come down in a wave 5 from this big sell-off in the month of June, and then all of a sudden things are turning around now, and that is part of that ABC correction, and maybe we might see Bitcoin going above $30,000 in the month of November. This is just an opinion, though, of course. None of this is any sort of financial advice, but this is a scenario that could be a repeat of what we've seen in previous years. So I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions about this. Kind of just a little theory I'm playing with, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about this. So please like, share, comment, subscribe. New content coming out all the time. I'll see you in the next one.